Welcome back, everyone. This is Jeff from the Overwatch team, here with another developer update. Today, we're going to be talking all about Season 2. Now, there's a lot of information with Season 2, so I'm not going to cover every single detail here, but you can rest assured that we'll have more information not only in the patch notes, but as we get closer to launch of Season 2 and coming off of the PTR, we'll have even more information available to you. So let's start with the things that I think matter the most to you guys. First off, skill rating. What we learned with Season 1 was that not every aspect of skill rating felt really good to most players. So one thing that we think we got wrong in Season 1 is that we chose a scale of 1 to 100 to represent skill rating. And this was wrong for a couple of reasons. One of the reasons was that when you went up or down, sometimes you went up or down a fraction of an amount. And it wasn't always clear to you how much you were going up or down or why you were going up and down. So that felt off and weird to people. The other thing was that the number itself is sort of ingrained in us. Like, for example, in our system, a person with a 60 skill rating is actually an amazing Overwatch player. If you had 60 skill rating, you were in the top 6% of all Overwatch players, but it didn't feel like that. We see that 60, and a lot of us go back to our old school days and go, oh, what did I get, a D on this? 60 is terrible, but in fact, 60 was an amazing skill rating. So what we're doing for Season 2 is we're putting the scale on a 1 to 5,000 scale. So that way there will be no more fractional updates. You're not going to go up or down, half or a quarter of a skill rating anymore. You'll go up whole numbers from now on. We're also just trying to take the focus a little bit away from skill rating. We want skill rating to be that gauge of where you're at as a player. How am I performing right now on any given night or during any given play session, but we don't want that number to be the thing that you associate with you as a competitive player more than anything else. So right now in Season 1, what we're seeing is a lot of people saying things like, oh, I'm a 52 skill rating player. I lost my rating last night. I dropped to 51. I was really upset. There's almost this association of a player being a certain number. And we kind of want to disassociate that a little bit. We want you to realize that the skill rating is naturally going to go up or down as you're playing competitive matches. It's a very normal thing. The system is calibrating towards, where you are as a player. So what we've done is we've created tiers around the different skill ratings. And I'm not going to list them all out. There are 7 of them. They have names like bronze, silver, gold, etc. They go up from there. And roughly they cover about 500 skill ratings. So for example, gold goes from 2,000 to 2,499, would represent a gold player. And what we want to do with the new system is try to focus you more on, I'm a gold player. I'm on average playing at a gold skill level. And sometimes my skill rating goes up or down, but I generally think of myself as a gold player. Or when I see a silver player or a platinum player above me, I have a general idea of what their skill level is or how they should be playing the game. The cool part of the tiers that we're going to do is at certain tiers, we're not going to let you drop out of that tier. Except for the 2 highest tiers, which are Master and Grandmaster. All of the other tiers, once you achieve that tier for the season, you will remain in that tier for the season, even if your skill rating drops below where that tier, what you initially had to do to enter that tier. We feel like this will feel better for players. They'll know that they're a gold player, and if their skill rating dropped into that silver range, they'll get it back after a couple nights, or maybe they just need a week to get it back or whatever. But we don't want to have that debilitating feeling that players have when they lose something in the game. Right now, that 52 skill rating player feels just terrible when they drop down to 51. We want to get rid of that feeling. And then you guys saw with the end of season rewards, we always do these based on high water marks. So your end of season rewards for competitive points will all be based on what tier you reached, however high you got in the tiers, the highest watermark. So you should feel pretty good, even though you're playing maybe at a silver skill rating for the last week of the season. If you ever got into gold, you will get the reward for gold, which should feel much better. Speaking of competitive points, for reasons I'm going to get into soon, we've multiplied these all by 10, meaning you will get 10 times as many. If you have any banked right now, we're going to multiply those by 10. But the golden guns also cost 10 more. And I'll get into why we're doing that in a little bit. So there's a lot of changes coming to the formats and the way that the game is played that are worth talking about. This is stuff based on your guys' feedback that we were listening to. We wanted to adjust how competitive felt in general. The number one piece of feedback that we received is that players don't like the coin toss. We don't like the coin toss either. The coin toss is going away. In fact, all of sudden death is going away. So what does that mean? Well, first of all, for the control maps like Nepal, there is no sudden death. It's still, 3 out of 5. You'll play your matches. There will always be a winner. For the assault modes, which is maps like Volskaya Industries or Hanamura, we're still using our time bank system that we have, which means you have a set amount of time to play the match. If your team finishes very quickly, then when the next round happens, you have that remaining time to use. We've made some adjustments there. So one thing that we've done is after the initial first round capture of point A, so every other time besides that one that I just mentioned, we'll always give a bonus 30 seconds. The reason we're doing this is there were those awkward times where you would capture a point in overtime, and then the map would just end, and you never have a shot at the second point. So we want to make sure that if you're having a really great comeback moment, you have a shot. I mean, albeit 30 seconds is really fast and aggressive, but we want to at least give you that chance to get to the next point and make a final push and take it. So we will be giving you 30 seconds there. On the flip side, where we used to give you 2 minutes of bonus time when a match would run out and you'd be below 2 minutes. Let's say you had 30 seconds left when your team took it. We used to bump you up to 2 minutes. That's only going to be a minute from now on. So we're getting more aggressive with the time. We saw the capture times that you guys were posting, and we're doing our tuning around that. So you'll only have a minute from now on when we do give you bonus time. The other thing we're trying to do with the bonus time is make it as fair as possible. So if we give one team bonus time because they didn't finish within the allotted time of the match, we will give that bonus time to the other team. Even if the other team has 6 minutes left and the first team has 30 seconds left, we'll bump the one team up to a minute, and then we'll give that extra 30 seconds to the team that had 6 minutes. We know that it's time-based, so it needs to be fair to both teams for it to be time-based. So that's what's coming to Assault. The exciting thing for us is the time bank system, like I mentioned, will also be coming to what we call our hybrid game mode, which is maps like Numbani or Kings Row, as well as the full payloads, which are maps like Dorado and Gibraltar, for example. The time bank system will come to those. So if you push the payload all the way to the end and have 3 minutes left, you will get another round to now see how far you can push the payload. Ties should be very, very rare on the hybrid maps and the payloads. On the payloads, the only times that a tie is realistically going to happen is if nobody pushes the cart at all, either team, which seems exceedingly rare. And then on hybrids, ties will only happen if nobody initially captures the payload. So, for example, on Kings Row, if nobody takes point A on either team, that would result in a tie. We know that ties are not entirely satisfying for players, but what we've learned over the months and months of iteration on competitive mode is that sudden death is not satisfying for players. It always feels like one team kind of got the bum end of the deal. So we want to make sure that we have ties instead of sudden death, but ties are very, very rare. I mentioned before that we did that multiplication to competitive points, and this is so that we can give both teams at least some competitive points for a tie. It won't be as much as a win, but we want you to get something for that time investment. So there will be ties from now on. Ties should be very rare. But we think overall the time bank system coming to escort and payload will make those modes way more exciting and way more competitive. One concern that players had was that the whole competitive experience, like an entire match, might be too much time. So we looked for a lot of opportunities. For example, within Assemble Your Heroes, as one of the examples, for places where we could trim time. The initial Assemble Heroes time is what it's always been, but subsequent Assemble Your Heroes, we've trimmed down that time quite a bit. I just want to address a couple other concerns that we'll be hitting with Season 2. We had some concerns about players grouping in widely disparate skill ratings, meaning you might have a level 40 player grouped with a level 70 player. I'm sorry, not level, skill rating. So we're addressing this problem. We're getting way more aggressive with how close you can be to one another. When it goes onto the PTR, in our new skill rating system, which is 1 through 1,000, you can only be within a skill rating of 500. We're going to see how players feel about this. If it's too aggressive, we'll loosen up on it a little bit, but you have to realize what we're fighting with here is the desire for people to play with their friends versus the unfairness of widely disparate skill ratings grouping with one another. So it's a tricky place for us to get to in terms of balance. We're hoping those of you who play on the PTR and group with friends kind of give us your feedback about what you think that right number is. That's something that's not terribly difficult for us to iterate on. So we'll be looking at that. The other thing that we'll be introducing with Season 2 was something that people were concerned about. This is only going to affect really the top-end players, but I know everybody was concerned about it, and that's skill rating decay. So if you are a master or grandmaster skill rating player, as well as diamond, you will now be subject to skill rating decay. And what that means is if you don't play competitive Overwatch for 7 days, you will lose 50 skill rating every 24 hours. And that has a floor. You will only go down to the bottom of diamond. It's not like you will drop all the way to the bottom of bronze. But we really want those top-end players to not just earn their spot and sit there for the rest of the season. We want them to be playing competitively and earning their spot. So they'll have to keep active in the system. It's not brutal. It's not like we're asking you to play 20 hours a day. We're just making sure that you're checking in with the system and still playing. So that will happen. Also, for our top 500 players, we're going to require that you have at least 50 matches played. So you'll know if you see a player in the top 500 that there's somebody who hasn't just completed their placement and got really, really lucky and the time had passed, so they happen to end up in the top 500, that they're players who are really actively and aggressively playing competitive mode. There's way more changes than I just mentioned. There's a lot of details. We're working to make sure that the patch notes are as detailed as possible, and we're working on other forms of communication because we know how much you guys care about competitive play in Overwatch. And we want Season 2 to be a really great step forward for everyone. We want Season 2 to feel kind of like a new beginning and like a really awesome moment where everybody can come back and try the system again and feel much better about the direction that it's taking. We have a good amount of time on the PTR, so we're excited to hear your feedback. There are a lot of things that we can change while we're on the PTR, so we'll be listening to that feedback. We'll be playing ourselves and getting a feel for it. But we want this to be the competitive system that you guys want. We want it to be awesome for you. It's your game. It should feel amazing. So please join us on the PTR. Let us know your thoughts. We hope you enjoy the system, and we'll give you more information as soon as it's available. Thanks, everybody.